All right, in this lesson, I'll introduce another method that we can call on a pandas series to get us a Boolean series, and it's the duplicated method, and it allows us to extract the rows from a data frame that are duplicates. So I'll begin by re-executing our code from the previous lessons, and I'm actually going to add one more line here. So we currently do have duplicates in this data set, but they're scattered throughout, and I'm going to be focusing on the first name column here. So what I'm going to do is sort the values in this data frame by the values in the first name column or series. And I'm going to make that operation in place, just so we permanently modify the data frame. And so here you can see I have a bunch of duplicates immediately showing up here. I have multiple people with the same first name of Aaron, and so on. Let's actually take a look at that series. So I'm going to extract it with my bracket syntax. And there we see we have all the Aarons, all the Adams, all the Alberts, and so on. And there are some names in this first name column that are unique, in which case they're only going to have a single row. So the method I'm going to introduce here is duplicated, and this is a tricky one. It takes a little bit of time to get comfortable with, so I'll try to explain this as best as I can. So the way that the duplicated method works by default it has this parameter called keep. And what keep is going to do is it's going to mark the very first occurrence of each value as a non-duplicate. So what that means is when we proceed downwards through this set, it's going to take a look at Aaron here and say, I haven't seen Aaron at all before. It's my first time running into this value. Therefore, I'm going to not count it as a duplicate. It's then going to run into these three Aaron values right below, and these are the ones that are going to be marked as duplicates. So when it's looking at a series, it's not marking a row as a duplicate if it exists more than once. Rather, it's only marking each subsequent occurrence after the first one as a duplicate. So this Adam here, again, this one is going to be marked as unique. It's not going to be viewed as a duplicate row, even though there are other Adams in this series. Rather, all the other Adams after the first one are going to be marked as a duplicate. So just keep in mind, watch these first four rows for Aaron, and you'll see that the very top one is going to be false because it is not a duplicate, and the next three are going to be true because they are duplicated. There we have it. Our very first occurrence of Aaron is going to be marked as false. Pandas does not view it as a duplicate, while the other rows are viewed as duplicates. And if we pass this Boolean series into our square brackets, we're going to be able to extract those duplicate rows. So keep in mind, we can see three Aarons here as the first example. That first Aaron row, even though it is technically a duplicate, is not being counted as one. So it's only going to show us the rows after that one. So the three Aarons that occur after our first occurrence of Aaron. And similarly, if I erase all this and come back to our original series, there's an additional parameter that we can provide or modify on the duplicated method. And as you may recall, we had that keep parameter and it was set to first. And what that means is whenever it runs into the first time of any value, that's not going to be marked as a duplicate. That's a regular value. If I change that keep to last, what it's going to do is view this Aaron as a unique value or not a duplicate, and view the first three as the duplicate values. So it's going to wait until it arrives at the very last value of the series that is unique, so to speak, in Panda's mind, and that's the one that's going to be marked as unique. You can think of this almost as proceeding from the bottom of the series upwards. So it's going to start at the very bottom. It's going to be proceeding up here, coming up from the bottom. It's going to run into this Aaron and say, this Aaron, I haven't seen it before. It's not a duplicate. Then it's going to run into these three Aarons and say, oh, these have already occurred before, therefore I'm going to mark them as duplicates. So as you can see, we do have the first three Aarons here marked as true. True for yes, it is duplicated. And we have false for the last Aaron. Or rather, yeah, the last Aaron. And if I extract this, we'll again see three different Aaron values, but one of them is going to be different. It's going to be swapped. Now, you may ask, probably the first question I asked when I was looking at this, which is, what if I want to remove just all rows that are duplicates? I don't care if it's the first time or the second time. As long as it's repeated more than once, I want it gone. So Aaron in this case occurs 4 times. It is a duplicate. I want to remove all of these rows that have duplicated values. In that case, when we call the duplicated method to return a series, the keep parameter accepts an additional argument. And instead of first or last as a string, we can enter false. Now what false will do is it's going to mark something as duplicated if it occurs more than once, period. Doesn't matter if it's the first time or the last time. Here we have an example where we have all Aarons. All of these are going to be marked as true. True for yes, it is a duplicate because Aaron occurs more than once. So now that we have a list of all of the duplicates in the data frame, if we extract it, what we can do here is extract only the rows that have more than one duplicate value in the first name column. So these are all the duplicates. You can see that the Aarons are represented 4 times, and the Aaron name does occur for 4 times. Now, another common operation is, what if you want to remove all of the rows that are unique? So I want to only have the rows where there are no duplicate first names, just the unique names. They have to occur only once. So this is a little bit trickier, but I have here my original Boolean series that happened when I call the duplicated method. And as you know, it returns a true for all duplicate values. And whenever we pass a Boolean series to our brackets, it's going to extract all those rows where we have a true here. Now, if we could negate these values, in other words, if we could turn the trues here to falses, and the falses to trues, keeping in mind that the falses in this current Boolean series represent the unique values because they are not duplicated. If those falses were to become trues and we extract those rows, that would allow us to get the unique values. Now there is a special symbol that we can put in front of a series, a Boolean series, to negate it or convert it the other way. So all of the trues will become falses and all of the falses will become trues. That symbol is called the tilde symbol, T-I-L-D-E, and it's located to the left of your 1 on the keyboard. It looks something like this. It's that little squiggly line that's placed kind of in the middle of the cell. Now, when I execute this, you'll see that it's going to reverse all of the trues to falses and all of the falses to trues. So now the trues that we have in this Boolean series represent the unique values, the values that only occur once in the first name column. If I finally either assign this to a variable or pass it directly to my square brackets, let's assign it to a variable because it's a little bit cleaner. Now I have that Boolean series in mask. If I open my square brackets and pass mask, you'll see that all of these names are only going to be represented once, and this is the one and only time that each of these names occurs in our original data frame. So Angela does not occur more than once. It only happens once on row 8, and same goes for Brian and Carol and David and Dennis and so on. You can see out of our 1,000 employees, there's actually a pretty small number of employees that have a unique name, something like 9 here. So that's the duplicated method. It can be used to return a Boolean series that specifies whether the value is a duplicate or not. Keep in mind that the default option, which has the first argument for the key parameter, will mark any subsequent occurrence of each value as a duplicate, but it will not mark the first occurrence as a duplicate. So you're probably more often than not going to be using this keep equals false argument in order to extract those that are all duplicates or negate it with the tilde to extract all unique values. So that's an introduction to the duplicated method. Much like the isNull or notNull methods, it can be particularly helpful whenever we want to create Boolean series for the purposes of extraction. And in the next lesson, we'll dive into yet another method, the drop duplicates method, which will allow us to remove duplicates in a slightly more easier operation. I'll see you there.